All right, your last week of school for the year 2020, and this week's going to be a bit of a doozy. It's only one section, but we have 8 goals. So this might be a 2-part video, okay? So stick with me here. All right, so our goals, first we're starting with our base angles. We're going to be able to find base angles theorem. We're going to be able to find missing angles and use algebra. Then we're going to go to our converse base angles theorem, missing sides, and algebra. Then we're going to go to our equilateral theorem, missing angles and algebra. Then we're going to go to our equiangular theorem, missing lengths and algebra. So here we go. Boom. Starting with goal number 1, our base angles theorem and working on finding missing angle measures. So what our base angles theorem tells us is that if we have 2 congruent sides, like so, boom, boom, then we have 2 congruent angles. Boom, boom. What I tell kids to be able to recognize this is if we have congruent legs, then we have congruent feet, okay? Legs, feet. And if you're like, ooh, how do we know what are the feet? Well, you have 2 feet, so you kind of got to see where your legs have 2 legs. So you're not going to go the other way. These are your hips. It's your bum. Here's your feet. Okay? All right, so let's use that. Here we go. Let's find the missing angle measure. So here's our congruent legs. Boom. So here would be our congruent feet. All right, so if this is x, what is this? It is also x. And then last week we learned a very special thing about triangles, that the inside of a triangle always equals 180, okay? So for us to solve for this one, we're going to say 88 plus x equals 180. That gives us 88 plus 2x equals 180. And now we're just going to finish solving for x. So subtract 88. 92. Divide by 2. And we get x equals 46. So that would be our missing measure. Okay? Now, let's add a little bit more algebra into that. Okay? So we have our congruent legs. And I always do this. I draw them and I always mark my legs and then my feet. And here's my feet. Well, if this one's 65, this one is also 65. And they're telling us right here that for angle 2, right here, is 6x plus 8. So we want to solve for x. So we're going to say 6x plus 8 plus 65 plus 65 equals 180. And then we solve for x. So let's combine our like terms. Shwing. So we got 8 plus 65 is 65. So we get 6x plus 138 equals 180. All right. Subtract 138. We get 6x equals 42. Divide by 6. We get x equals 7. Okay. Now what I've done for you, of course these are examples that are in your actual assignment that you have after this one. I did the more difficult problems. You will have problems that are real simple, like this would say, this could say 65 and that could say x, and you're like, okay, well if the legs are the same, the feet are the same, so therefore our answer is 65. Kind of stuff like that will happen in your homework. So these are the more complicated ones I wanted to show you. All right. So took care of goal 1 and goal 2 with our base angles theorem. Now let's talk about the converse to base angles theorem. Now a converse means we're flipping it. So if the original one said 2 congruent legs gives you 2 congruent feet, this one is saying if we have two congruent angles. So if we have these congruent angles, our feet, then we have two congruent legs. All right, so it's just the vice versa of what we just did. All right, so let's look at example 3. So we're going to use the converse of the base angles theorem to find a missing side length. So here's our feet. Meow, meow. They're congruent, so let's find our legs. So how much is x? Well, x equals 5. Yay! All right, I like the converse. It's fun. All right, let's talk about goal 4. We're going to use this converse with algebra now. Here's our feet. Here's our legs. So let's solve for x. Now remember, these legs are congruent, so we can say 23 plus 2x equals 7. Now let's solve for x. Subtract 23. Left with 2x equals negative 16. Divide by 2. We get x equals negative 8. All right. So you'll have problems like these on your assignment too. So that's goal 3 and goal 4. Man, we're flying through this. Maybe it will just be one video. That would be awesome. All right. Let's talk about goal 5. Goal 5 is dealing with the equilateral theorem. Okay. Remember, equilateral means we have all congruent sides. Okay. So this is saying if we have 3 congruent sides, then we also have 3 congruent angles. So if all the sides are the same, all the angles are the same. So let's talk about that. Let's look at this one right here. Find the indicated angle measure. Well, the first thing I notice, all of our sides are the same. So that also means all of our angles are the same. So how much is x? Why, it's 60. And just to let you know, in every equiangular / equilateral triangle, the angles will always be 60 degrees. Forever and for always, there'll never be anything else. It will always be 60. So let's look at example 6, using this with algebra. Okay, all of our sides are the same, so all of our angles are the same. And let's see, how much are they saying for angle 2? They're saying x plus 68. So we're going to say x plus 68 equals 60. Now let's solve for x. Subtract 68. We get x equals negative 8. Ta-da! All right, that's goal 5 and goal 6. Man, this is just going to be one video. Awesome sauce. Good. I didn't want the week before Christmas for y'all to have to watch 2 videos. That would have been like torture. All right, 7 and 8. Now we're talking about equiangular theorem. I bet you kind of have an idea of how this one's going to go. If we have 3 congruent angles, then we have 3 congruent sides. All right, just like the last one, but backwards. Here we go. Example 7, find the indicated length. So here's what we know. We're told here that we have 3 congruent angles. We know that because they all have the same number of arcs, which means we have 3 congruent sides. So we can already tell what's x going to be equal to? Yx equals 4. All right, let's look at example 8. They're telling us here that we have 3 congruent angles, which means we also have 3 congruent sides. All right, so that means that we know that -4 plus 2x equals 6, and we can solve for x. We'll add 4, which gives us 2x equals 10. Divide by 2, we get x equals 5. Wow, I can't believe we got through all 8 goals in one video. That is really awesome. Remember, you can pause the video at any time, rewind, do whatever you need to do to be able to get through everything. Make sure you take a picture of your notes and submit them on Google Classroom, and do not forget to do assignment number 2. This is our last lesson before the holiday break, so I will see you all in 2021. Have a wonderful break.